In this video, I'm going to be talking about perfect passive verbs, how to form them, how to recognise them, and how to translate them. If you're struggling with any of these verb endings, go and download the free complete reference guide to Latin verbs from the link in the description below. It has all the verb tables you're going to need, and it will really help you out as you go through this video. So active or passive? Well, an active verb is when the nominative is doing the verb. The boy kicked the horse. A nice simple sentence. A passive verb is when the nominative is having the verb done to it. The boy has been kicked by the horse. The nominative is still the boy, but his role has changed. He has now been kicked by the horse. He is passively accepting the action. Perfect passives in Latin are formed from the perfect passive participle, which is the fourth principal part in your dictionaries. Added on to that is the present tense of the verb esse, which is to be. The perfect passive participle is always nominative in the perfect passive verbs, but it changes gender and number to match the nominative. Let me show you what I mean. The endings for the perfect passive verbs are the perfect passive participle with the endings us, a, or depending on the gender. Then you add esse in the present tense. For the I version of the verb, some. For the you version of the verb, you add s. For the he, she, it, you add est. When we get to we, you, they, we're now in the plural nominative zone. So my number of my perfect passive participle has to change. It still depends on the gender, e, I, a, but now they are all nominative plural. And then I add on my sumus for we, my estis for you plural, or my sunt for they. So let's have a look at an example. Portare. I've used the masculine form here. So the masculine form of portare in the perfect passive would be portatus sum. You singular, portatus es. He, she, it, portatus est. Then I change to plural, portati sumus. You plural, portati estis. And they plural, portati sunt. Now these mean I have been carried, you have been carried. He, she, it has been carried, we have been carried, you have been carried. Be very careful to translate this as have, not had. Had is pluperfect passive. If you want that video, that's coming up next time, so keep an eye out on my channel for that. Let's have a look at some examples. For these ones, I have the table at the bottom, which tells you the endings for the perfect passive verbs. I've also given you how to translate them, so I have been somethinged, or you can say I was carried or I was kicked. That's fine as well, but just have it in your head that it's not imperfect, it's a perfect passive. I've also got all the vocabulary down the side for you. For the verbs, I've given you all four principal parts. Now that means I've given you the usual I form of the present tense. Deleo, I destroy, invenio, I find, etc. Then, how the infinitive goes. The third option is the perfect stem, and the fourth option, the last option in all the verbs, is the perfect passive participle. That's the bit you're looking for when you're doing perfect passive verbs. So the key thing with these is that when you see the verb to be in the present tense, you always want to look just in front of it to see if there is a perfect passive participle. This is why it's really important to learn all your principal parts in your dictionary list so that you know how the verbs change. So if you want to have a go at these on your own, feel free to pause the video now. If you just want to know the answers, I will go through them right now. Let's get started. Number 1. Nos in taberna inventi sumus. So I look at my verb first of all, as always. Sumus is right at the end. I know that means we are. However, I'm also going to have a little look just in front of it to see if there is a perfect passive participle. I've got the word inventi. Checking in my vocabulary, I can see that inventus is my singular masculine version of my perfect passive participle. Inventi, therefore, is one of my plural masculine endings. So I have inventi sumus, we have been found. Nos goes with this, so it just gives me more information that it is we. I'm pointing at like several different people. So we have been found in taberna, in the shop. Number 2, puellai a puero salutatai sunt. So always checking the verb first. I have sunt, the present tense of the verb to be, and then I check just in front of it and I see that I have got salutatai, which I know from my vocabulary is a perfect passive participle of the verb to greet. So salutatai sunt, I now know if I look down my list, is a they version of a perfect passive verb. It's going to be a they feminine plural because it is salutatai, AE at the end, and that is my feminine ending. It's got to be nominative because the verb always has to match the nominative. So I'm going to be looking for a plural feminine noun if I can find one. Salutatai sunt means they have been greeted. Looking for a feminine plural noun. Oh look, I've got puelai, which is feminine, plural and nominative. So in this case, the girls have been greeted a puero by the boy. Number 3, Regina veneno necata est. First of all, looking at my verb again, I've got necata est. Necata est, I know, has to be he, she, it has been something. That's because even though I have an A ending, which could be feminine singular or neuter plural, I then have est. So this is actually easier than some other matching up activities you have to do in Latin. Because I have that est, I know it is singular. So I know that it can only match my third person singular, and I know it has to be a feminine because it's nominative. Necata est. So now I'm going to look for a feminine noun. Regina necata est makes sense. So Regina, the queen, has been killed. Then I've got veneno, it's an instrumental ablative, by poison. The queen has been killed by poison or with poison. Number 4, que puniti estis liberi. This is a question, so I know I've got to maybe switch the translation around to make it make sense as a question in English. Que means why, puniti estis. Now I've got estis, so I know it's you plural. Gonna double check whether I've got a perfect passive participle. Yes, I do. Puniti, which comes from punio. Then I need to switch it around. Usually it would be you have been punished. Because this is a question, I'm gonna say why have you been punished? Finish my sentence with liberi, children. Why have you been punished, children? And finally, number 5, templum a militibus deletum est. Deletum est, I know, is a third person singular. Deletum tells me that it is neuter, so I'm going to be looking for a neuter nominative. In this case, templum matches, so templum deletum est. The temple has been destroyed. A militibus, an ablative of agent, by the soldiers. The temple has been destroyed by the soldiers. So that's the idea of perfect passive verbs. You take the perfect passive participle in the nominative form. It has to match the nominative that it's describing in case, number and gender, and then you add on the verb to be in the present tense. Sum est, sumus estis sunt, depending on who is doing the verb. If you're struggling with any of this or you want to have a little reference guide to look back on, go and download that free complete reference guide to Latin verbs from the link in the description below. It'll be really useful. If you have any questions or queries, if you're struggling with anything, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Bambasbat.